Welcome to the Light True Crime. I am continuing on reading out my court notes from the David Burke preliminary hearing, and I'm just going to pick up where I last left off. This will be the last part for now until court resumes tomorrow on Monday. We are now at the part, it is September 7th, 2024, and this would have been her 14th birthday. Celeste texts, "I haven't taken a pregnancy test in a minute." David replies, "Because you haven't missed a period yet. We'll take one when I see you." On September 12th, 2024, at 2:37 p.m., Celeste messages, "I'm a little scared. I haven't gotten preg in a minute, and we F a lot." So David says, "Because we also have sex when you least likely to get pregnant. You can only get pregnant 3 to 5 days a month." Celeste replies, "Oh, I was scared." On September 22nd, 2024, Celeste, "So am I going to get pregnant?" David, "That's why I try to have sex on days you're not ovulating." Just a comment before we go into the next part. This shows, again, this conversation with a child, and she's worrying about these adult issues of pregnancy and then, ovulation. She doesn't know this child's body's already been put through such an extreme medical procedure to already remove, we know, at least one pregnancy. And then she's just constantly worried about this, worried about conceiving and all of that. And, she's a child. She doesn't know everything and everything that happens and entails and her body's going through. It's so bad. And then getting back into it, this is where the prosecution and detective said, at this point, again, this is just after September 22nd, David purchased airline tickets for the end of September in 2024 to London. So this is where they supposedly went to London. And then after London, they went to Texas to go visit family. Now it resumes text messages on November 7th, 2024, where Celeste messages, "I literally had sex with you for almost a year straight." David says, "Treating like the first breakup, it's the 8th time." We then go to text messages on December 20th, 2024. And this is where Celeste texts, "Thought you invited me to your house to cuddle. I was going to go home. We could have just kissed and left it at that." David says, "You asked me if I wanted Smex and I folded." Celeste says, "Smex is a connection?" David, "Then we stopped and I held you and then you asked again." Celeste, "No, we made out. I was supposed to go home." David, "This happens every time you initiate the kiss and I go with it. You ask me to be your boyfriend and I follow your lead." Now, he says, contextually, I just wrote notes, basically. He says he's passive and she is also, she's the one initiating everything. And he put, "It's so complicated. I don't know. You literally did." This is going to be the last part of the text messages. It is March 14th, 2025. So this is about a month before the homicide. Celeste messages, "I want to be friends, but online. I don't want anything to do with you in person anymore." David says, "Oh, okay." Celeste says, "I feel like hold on. He says, "Okay, this isn't happening. I feel like we can't be in a balanced relationship. Maybe if things were different, but all we do is have schmecks and hang out. I want more for myself." David says, "Boundary setting is terrible." Celeste says, "It's more than that." And "without a label is insane." That's where it stops for the day. So we got up to March 14th, 2025. And again, we will be resuming the testimony with the detective to keep going. We're about a month out from the alleged homicide, so we're getting right to the end there to see what else happened. But that's when we were released from court for the day. The other thing is, after they're going to finish, prosecution still hasn't finished. And after that, there's going to be a cross-examination. Considering how long prosecution had the detective up on the stand going through all this, I imagine this is going to be a cross-examination that also could go on for quite a while. compared to other cross-examinations, especially with the amount of details that we have gone through. And again, just noting, this was a time where David was, frantically making notes on his notepad for the first time during this whole process, and, seemingly really listening and engaged to everything. So, and as I've stated before, those notes are not allowed to go back with him to his jail cell. He's not allowed to have any paperwork, any notes or anything. So he makes his notes, and then the lawyers need to hold on to them afterwards. So I'll be back at the courthouse tomorrow again to resume for day 5 of this preliminary hearing and, continue going on with my notes. I just, moving on, I like to be very factual in everything that I report and just go through all the details and the information and try to keep my opinion out of it, really, or save it just till the end. And just speaking on what we heard Friday from the medical examiner, the autopsy, and then after lunch going in and hearing all of these text messages. And we started the day out seeing a dismembered body of a child. And when we went back after lunch, you're seeing, the photos of this child as a person, as a human, her learning about her life and the way she speaks. And seeing her parents that had to leave crying again. And it was a really rough day for everybody who was in that courtroom and in that gallery. I think everyone left just heartbroken. I think everyone's been heartbroken through this process because you're heartbroken for Celeste and for her family. And you're sharing the courtroom with, in my opinion, who's somebody who's just an evil monster in there. And I want to note, Steve Fisher also brought this up today, that during this timeline when Celeste, they were making the Operation Awesome plans for the Valentine's Day, he said that at that time he had the text messages and spoke to the person, but there was somebody else, they had signed the lease for the new home February 7th. And while he was planning to have Celeste come with Operation Awesome on Valentine's Day, he was actually, trying to say the best word, he was intimate, okay, with another minor in that new house. While he's on the side texting Celeste all these things about marriage and having her come there and all this stuff and children, he was being intimate with another minor. He's a full-blown PDF file. And we've heard these discussions that there's other minors that he's attracted to, and that was his involvement. But that's why I took a day in between before I posted all of these updates. I was exhausted. I fell asleep, when I got home, and then yesterday I just took a break. Again, they say playing Tetris helps with trauma, and I played some Tetris, but I also look at this from the aspect of a mother as well. And my daughter just turned 14 this past month. And I can't help but look at her and her friends. I can never imagine them in this situation. And all these things that Celeste was going through, and these adult situations and these adult conversations that she was having with somebody who was grooming her and abusing her the whole time. Everyone needs to remember that she never got to leave middle school. I think people try to go, oh, well, did she look older and all of that? No. I look at my daughter's friends. Guess what? Yeah, some of them they're taller than me. You can judge somebody's body and all that, but somebody's age. You can tell somebody's age. I would never mistake any of her friends for being over the age of 18, ever. I was telling my daughter again, I believe I raised her very well, and she doesn't go online or anything like that, and she doesn't have that kind of access. But I was again like, she's starting high school this fall, and I was like, listen, you and your friends, you need to know you never talk to anybody. If anybody approaches you at that high school, an adult, or they come around that school, you don't talk to them, you don't do anything. I think, in my opinion, obviously they have everything they need from this preliminary hearing to go forth with the trial. Will they stay with the trial? I don't know, because you have to remember, in a preliminary hearing, we're not even hearing all of the details. We're not hearing everything. The reality is we're hearing just this layer of things to prove the charges, but we're not even hearing all of it. There's so much more. And so many more people that I think would be involved that would be taking the stand as witnesses outside of those that have been detectives and criminalists, data analysts, and the medical examiner. Yeah, I mean, this conclusion is that this grown man put this child through hell from the age of 11 until she passed. She should have never had to experience any of that or deal with any of these situations at all. And he took away any promise of her life and her future and everything that she wanted to be, wanted to do. And it's just horrible. It's heavy on the soul. So I will update tomorrow after court. I hope this helped. Like I said, my goal and my job, then the standard that I hold myself to is to report everything factually and get through everything. I'm not somebody who's going to do clickbait titles. I can't stand that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna, I don't like, I'm just, my reporting's facts. And I hope I'm relaying that and giving you all the information to the best of my ability that I can get from being in the courtroom and having somebody there firsthand. Even though these things are hard to do, I've always just felt it in my heart and soul that, you know, you have to have people there that are able to get out the truth and the information in this process of justice for Celeste, because out of anything, she deserves that. She deserves to be heard. And I also hope that people make sure to not remember her. I like to say, don't remember people for how they left this world, but how they lived it. And she lived life and had family and friends. And I hope that people never remember her as the way she left this world and in this frunk and all of that, because that does not represent the child that she was. And to remember her as a child who had so much to look forward to. I think that's important to remember. So I know I've talked a lot, but sorry, I'm just trying to get, getting stuff out and off my chest. But if you have any other questions, let me know and I'll do my best of the ability to answer them in the comments. And I will see everyone back on this case tomorrow to update what goes on. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, what happens in the dark will always come to the light. And we are here to shed light on these cases and many others that I do cover. So I will see you all in the next one. Remember to stay safe, to take care of your mental health, take breaks from cases like these, and just take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. These things are hard. So I will see you all